Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic, Lesser Known Classics. This is episode number 3529, Doubleshot number 3423. So, we're here discussing issues from Superman Action Comics. Though, like usual case, Action Comics, it's just the opening story. For Superman, it's 253, the 271, 273, the 275, 277, and 279, the 283. For Action Comics, we're discussing the Superman stories from issues 378 to 392. Yeah, so 353 begins a storyline that starts here, continues the next issue, and wraps up with 349. Was basically this Superman helping out this kid who is associated with Martian Manhunter named Billy Anders. They also him deal with basically this creature known as Pet the Demigod. Yeah, this is a creature that appears a few times. It later returns in 253, first appeared in 225 of Superman. Returned 253 and made his last special appearance in Superman 409. Yeah, so... And as for the rest of the issue, well, it's mostly put just reprints. Yeah, so just the opening. So, and by the way, it was written by Denny O'Neil. And Kurt Swan did the artwork. So, and then of course for 254, begins the storyline known as The Private Life of Clark Kent. Where, as a continuation of that. So, it's like baby walking through walls. It's more like... basically off the clock story for Clark Kent. No Superman this way. He's not on the costume. In the opening story, he basically still works with Billy Anders. Deal with this guy called Captain Lennar. And he goes into the Fortress of Solitude. And this one basically just Clark Kent helping out a baby for probably Clark Kent. This is written by art by Neil Adams. Neil Adams does the inky for this one, which I love the art for this one. It's awesome. Check it out. And the opening story, still Danny O'Neil, Kurt Swan. 255, this is basically Son of Superman, where it's just Superman on an alien planet. Just deal with that, and of course this weird Tales of Krypton, this weird backup story was Mooncross Lover, where it seems like we have one daughter of a scientist and daughter of a son of a sorcerer fall in love. It's a Roman Juliet story. Written by Mark Frederick, art by Dick Giordano. Cary Bates writes the opening story with Kurt Swan on the artwork. He does a lot of the artwork for this series. For 256, well, basically it's just where the opening story itself is just him working with dealing with a guy called Dr. John Marvel, who transfers his mind to a fighter jet, which is really weird. And then we have Clark Kent being a brother for a kid named Mickey Morton, which of course basically we do this Amazon girl who slices up his clothes. Like if you look at the cover for this one, it looks like the cheetah, but it's not the cheetah, not in the slightest. And it seems like a lot of these stories at this point just Superman working with a kid. Yes, not sure why. The opening story for 257 is Superman battles Warhorn. Yeah, Warhorn. It is a alligator creature who only appears in this one issue. Yeah, he never appears ever again. Then we have a Krypton story where it is focused on... basically, this is a story I think was maybe collected in a... So, pretty much this is Tomari, who is a character associated from Green Lantern. This is written by Elias Megan and Neil Adams is the writing for this one. Where the whole thing is him witnessing the destruction of Krypton, which is a key factor for him because Krypton was actually in his sector, and there was nothing he could do about it. The opening story itself basically is written by Cary Bates and Kurt Swan, typical duo. 258, we have the final appearance of the Galactic Golem. Yes, a creature who is something created by Lex Luthor to fight Superman. Yeah, he was only around for a very brief period of time. He first appeared in 248 for Superman and basically gets killed off by a year later. Though makes an appearance in Flashback in 502. And the first appearance of Josh Coyle, who is an employee of Maxwell Lord, who basically became a fairly recurring character in the pages of Superman. And the opening stories of Lean Wheat and Kurt Swan. The backup story, who is Mr. X. It's pretty much kind of another Clark Kent Private Life story done by Cary Bates. For issue 259, it's basically another story with the Terror Man. Of course. Yep. And it's basically a standalone story. This is also the other story featuring Billy Anders. And then we have 260. We have Super Fighting guy called Belmore the Viking. Yeah, and he actually does return. He appears a handful of times. He appears 270, and then appears 2 more times after that. The backup story is another Tales of Krypton stuff, which I enjoy. Tales of Krypton, which I think they've been collected. And then we have, get this, so we have Lois Lane apparently has a Star Sapphire uniform in her desk, and you have Superman trying to clone a slave of Star Sapphire. By the way, get this, so the Star Sapphire in this issue is Carol Ferris, not Lois, Carol Ferris. Lois just poses as basically. I thought this was a really fun issue. I think this was like the only appearance of Star Sapphire in the Bronze Age outside of Green Lantern. Yes. Yeah. So, in the openings of 260, you're dealing with a alien creature, which also is a building, where. And the backup story basically is just another Private Lab Clark Kent story where him basically do these two twins, Morgan Edge in the story. It's mostly put basically just. I like the Private Life Clark Kent. This one's done by Elias Meg and Kurt Swan. Elias Meg also has the opening story, but the cover art, basically both stories got the same. Then we have Multiman of Steel, where Superman deals with someone called Dr. Phoenix, who is a character appears a few times. Actually, appears twice, because after this issue, he returns issue 266. And the backup story is Clark Kent get his birthday celebrated. That one is done by Cary Bates. Dick Dillon does the arc for that one. Kurt Swan does the opening one. 264. Yeah, this is the one basic. I think this is one of the ones where Superman deals with a rogue costume. Well, actually, a Phantom Quarterback. Oh, this issue here is the first appearance of long-time Superman supporting character Steve Lombard. Those of you curious, who is this guy? Why, he's a sports reporter for the Daily Planet. This comic is his debut appearance. And yes, this guy will continue to appear even after this. And you're like, really? Well, they kind of have a version of this guy appear in Earth 2, but the one appeared in the Silver, one appeared during the Bronze Age. This one particular is a version that, though they alter the guy later on, but he pretty much, the one we see, if it was already post-Crisis comics, the one you see there is based upon this version of the character. Yes. Though Steve Lombard, the post-Crisis version, made his first appearance in Avengers of Superman 446. And does he appear in the current continuity? He does. He made his first appearance issue of Justice League. So you can thank Jeff Johns for bringing in a character who was a creation of Cary Bates. And he has, typical, been a long time supporting character of Superman. And he has appeared in various Superman books over the years. So you can thank basically Cary Bates for creating this really interesting character. The backup story is another Krypton story. It is basically just a classic Krypton story. Just read it. If you're just reading the one there. Then you have Superman attacked by the Army of Tomorrow. Yeah, this one Oh, it continued over in Action Comics, which I haven't read these yet. I probably should review that too, but oh well. I'll probably review when I get to it. And then we have Super fighting the Abominable Snowman, which is Dr. Phoenix, which is his last time appear see him. Then we have Superman basically deal with a falling star. So the Falling Star one, both stories are by Elias Megan, art by Dick Dillon. Second story, first story is Kurt Swan. For 267, it's basically, well, there's a character named Vernon Lombard. Who is that? Steve Lombard's brother. Yes. And there's also Jamie Lombard. Who is that? His nephew. So we get basic appearance of those two in that one, where it's basically going to the North Pole for an issue, and then we have Clark Kent and Private Eye. This is another one of like the side stories. I don't mind the backup stories for Superman where he's not being Superman, it's just being Clark Kent. I always think his stories are really cool. Then we have Wild Weekend in DC, where he teams up with Batgirl. Yes, Batgirl. I think this is probably her sole appearance in Superman. I believe so. Yes, I believe this is. Where basically they take on the organization Maze, and this the story itself feels like it's something that should have printed over in pages of like Detective or Batman Family, because that's what it seemed like when I was reading it. The backup story is more Krypton stuff, which you can find those in like it's retold in Krypton Chronicles #3 as we can find it. 269. Yeah, 269. The Secret of the Eighth Superman. Yeah, it's a puppet story. No puppet master in this one. So we have more Viking stuff here with the opening story. The backup story is it features Pete Ross in the parent book. Yes, I think this was his first appearance in the Page of Superman. I believe so. So the opening story of 271 is basically him taking on Brainiac. And the backup story is, well, a Krypton story, which I still think is really cool. Skipping over 272 because it's a reprint issue. Jumping ahead to 273. Where it's basically Wizard with the Golden Eye. It is just a weird, like, eye of Garfunkel story. The basically the blind date, the backup story is pretty much Clark Kent temporarily blinded, which would happen on Smallville, believe it or not. Yes, he was blinded for an episode. So you could say that was probably maybe the writers didn't know the fact this was also something that happened in the comics too. So though in the show itself, basically they use his temporary blindness to introduce his super hearing. This one goes sort of like a blind date with a woman named May Mulgrew, who had a crush on Clark Kent. Yeah, she appeared more in Superman than she did in action. She was just a very minor recurring character. And she also has a twin sister named April, who also appeared in 262 as well, made her last appearance in 411. Yes. Moving on to 274. 274, Protectors of Earth Incorporated. Yeah, this is more of a domestic terrorist story because it's the Bronze Age. So I guess there's like no classic villains, barely any. I mean, aside from Lex and Brainiac and the introduction of like the Parasite early on, there isn't a lot of classic Superman villains in the Bronze Age. It's like they wanted to step away from those, the more realistic stories. Then we have in 275, we have debut of a woman by the name of Lois Barnett, who is a Gotham columnist. Pretty much basically, you could say she's the pre-crisis Cat Grant, because she's a Gotham columnist. They pretty much replaced it with Cat Grant, who pretty much does the same thing as the character. Now, as for why they dropped the character, I don't know. But the backup story is just Superman visiting a small orphanage. And Kurt Swan does the arc both stories. Carrie Bates is the opening story, backup story by Elias Migan. Then we have 276. Oh boy, 276. This one in particular is, you can think of this book as the first official verse fight between Superman and Captain Marvel. Except that he's not called Captain Marvel here. In this one early appearance of him in this book, he is referred to as Captain Thunder. And they fight the Monster League of Evil. Which, of course, is probably a take on the Monster Society of Evil from, basically it's an analog to that book. And then we have this guy called Mookie, who is a shaman. Pretty much basically all Captain there is. It is a alternate version of Captain Marvel. And his real name is William Willie Fawcett. Yeah, the name itself basically is a nod to Fawcett Comics. This version of the character actually has final appearance in the pages of all things, Power of Shazam. That's where next time we see him. Yeah. As for why DC did this for, having Captain Marvel, well, all but name, because literally what this guy is, he's literally Captain Marvel. He's got pretty much the same backstory. I guess at this point, this is my personal guess, that DC probably just got the rights to basically publish around the same period of time, but they couldn't do anything with him at this point. So they pretty much just slapped the Captain on the name to avoid a legal lawsuit with Fawcett, even though they licensed the character later on. 277 is basically, it is just dealing with this guy called Ted Malloway, who is the writer to expose Clark Kent as Superman. The backup story deals with escaped convicts. Now, 278, skipping over that one because it's a reprint issue. Now, don't worry, we're getting pretty close to wrapping up here with talk about these Superman comics. Yes, these issues of Superman. For 278, of course, it's... Oh, I forgot this was another team up with Batgirl. Yeah, this is another one where you read the issue. It feels like something that it's a detective published page of Superman. It's not just because of Batgirl being here. Its story very much feels like a Batgirl backup story told in a page of Superman. The backup story is basically Superman going to Canada to tell about magic. Kurt Swan, no, same people. The opening story itself is Superman turned to diamonds, which that was a really odd idea. Then we have the last headline, where it's about Perry White trying to retire at the age 65. Yeah, Morgan has to be a bad guy for no reason. And this is not done by Carrie Bates. It's done by Martin Pizzico. 281. Oh boy, this guy. Oh boy. This issue is the first appearance of a character named Vortox. You might be thinking, who the heck is this guy? Why, if anybody's read the series Harley Quinn and Power Girl, okay, so basically this character is based upon a character played by Sean Connery. You're like, excuse me? He's based upon Sean Connery. Yeah, he is. He's literally based upon Sean frickin' Connery. And you're like, how? It was a weird character that he just happened to play. Oh my gosh. And this is the debut of this goofy character. Yeah. What's his suit power? He has body hair. Yes, seriously. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, he is based upon a character played by Sean Connery. And you're all thinking, which character? Zardoz. Yes, anybody seen the film Zardoz? Sean Connery wearing this goofy outfit, and this character is literally a Sean Connery ripoff. As a matter of fact, he still looks like Sean Connery. to this very day. Yeah, the body hair, the mustache. Yeah, he's literally Sean freaking Connery. You can give Ally Superman after this, but my gosh, this guy here. Oh my gosh. The fact we got to the debut of this goofy character. The man with the weird outfit. Let me show off this guy. You're thinking, some of you probably thinking, what the heck is Zardass? So, Connery attempted to get away from being James frickin' Bond. He decided to basically play Zardass. And this is Vortox. I know it's clear. Oh, by the way, I remember from the Harley Quinn comic, they ripped his mustache off. And get this. Apparently, one of his alien features, he can automatically grow his mustache back. Yes, seriously. So this is Zardass. Yeah, this is Zardass. And this outfit was the inspiration. Him looking like this. This is the inspiration for Vortox. You're like, what? Yes, seriously. That's what they used to inspire this freaking character. Yeah, by the way, at one point he attempted to marry Batgirl. Yes, not Batgirl. Power Girl. Yes, he attempted to marry Power Girl. And by the way, he made his first post-Christ appearance in Superman 448. Except he didn't appear much as he did during the Bronze Age. Oh no, he appeared twice in Superman and a few issues of Power Girl. So, who brought him into the post-Flashpoint continuity? Why, that was Grant Morrison. Yes, in one issue. No, seriously, one frickin' issue. And then, of course, he's part of the Channel 52 stuff. And he also guest starred in, so they have appear in the pages of Harley Quinn and Batgirl. You can thank this book by Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Conner, Justin Gray. You can thank these people for bringing this guy back into prominence. But there is no denying, Vortox is a very goofy character. And you're like, what in the world was DC thinking? Good question. And then they randomly bring back in 282 the Lex Luthor, where he makes Superman the Superboy. He put on the outfit he sees in present day. It's like this was a proper return for Superman. Not Superman, Lex Luthor. Then we have the loneliest man on Earth, this weird creature from the future, who appears about a dozen times. But in the case of Lex, it had been a while since he last appeared. Oh, this issue here is no way for the first appearance of the green and purple costume, which is something he's known for wearing. If you see the Superman TV show, this is the comic he's debuting, and you can thank Kurt Swan for designing this costume. It's a great costume, and it's also a very iconic costume for him to wear. Yeah, it's like a purple shirt, which is very much Regal-like, which of course in Smallville, Lex did wear that too. Excuse me. So, and then we have 283 where Superman poses as a wolf of Wall named Cliff Darberts in order to basically disprove that Clark Kent is Superman. And then the backup story is Superman going to DC for an issue. Yeah. But really interesting issues overall for Superman. But there's no denying. Vortox. Some of you are like, what in the world? Yeah, DC created this guy, and they don't do much with him. So now we're on to Action Comics, where we're only discussing the Superman stories, not the backups. Now this one, unlike in the case of Superman, which was like almost 30 issues, not the case of Action. Action is only about 13 plus 2, about 15 issues this one. And we'll try to get through as quickly as possible. So, we have Superman dealing with this creature this person known as Marauder, who is a character who later appears in issue 417. And Will's first appearance of Roland Knock. Yeah. Who's an alien, who appeared next in the pages of World of Crypt number 2. Yeah, it's basically someone who knew Superman. And then 379, where basically Superman deals with Chris the Eliminator and posts reporters like Chris Swan, Joe Lederman, and Mark Shipp, which I am sure this is basically just the names themselves are nods to the Superman creators. And then you have Superman dealing with the Superman Adventure Squad in issue 380, in 381. We have Superman attempt to take over Earth for an issue, more Superman Adventure Squad stuff. You're like, how far into this is basically the Superman Adventure Squad actually in this book? Well, at this point in time, they would also appear after 380 and then would appear again until like 445. Too bad I can't edit this. Yeah. And then we have Clark Kent being magician for an issue. Yeah, the Flawless Criminals. And then we have, this is the killer costume thing where, Superman wears his costume as a criminal. It's the Superman costume where Clark Kent wears this purple and green costume as a criminal. And I'm like, it's the same face. Oh, a different costume. So, the writer is implying people who live in the Bronze Age comics, basically people in the 70s, are that stupid. Yeah, this is what the issue is implying. And we're still in the 60s for this book. And don't worry, by the time I finish up, it continues over 384. By the time I finish with 392 will be officially out of the 1960s. And we'll continue that Forbidden Costume storyline with issue 384. 385, 386, 387 is a multi-part storyline where Superman just lives in the future where he's like, I think it was like 10,000 million, then he just dies by 387. Yeah, it's a quick 3-part story where it's just Superman in the future, just living on everyone else dies. And then we have 388 where it is pretty much basically an issue that Oh, 388 itself has a backup story for the page of Superboy from Adventure Comics 302. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then basically we have deal with this Earth 388 stuff. Just another dimension with World War II, which is quite interesting. Then we have 389. Superman plays baseball. Yep, plays baseball. 390. Superman visits the president. Since it was 1970, I am assuming this is not LBJ. He's probably visiting Richard Nixon. They don't say it's Richard Nixon, but it clearly is because it's 1970, so it's Richard Nixon. At least about a few years before he resigned. Him visiting the machine was a Superman elimination machine, which shows up in this issue, and it pops up. This is the only appearance of the thing. It's his one and only time appears, and then moving on to 391, where it's a story dealing with the Super Sons. Well, the original version of Super Sons, not the current version featuring the actual biological sons of Superman and Batman, which are Damian and John Kent. This is Batman Jr. and Superman Jr., which is a continuation of the Bob Haney stuff on the pages of World's Finest. Yeah, this lasts for a good couple issues. Robert Kanigher basically writes his stuff. Yes, he writes his two-part story. Kind of weird that we have this thing as a continuation from... Yeah, it's kind of weird also they don't include us in the Saga of Super Sons trade, these two particular stories. Not sure why. You would think they would, but Bob Haney didn't write it. That's probably the reason why. Also, 382 is noteworthy for being the last issue to feature a Legion backup. And you're probably thinking, is there backups after this? Yes. Which, they were collected. Yes. Basically, as of now, at this point, I officially am done with 300s for Action Comics. Yep, all done. Yep, so now officially I review from 341 to 406. Almost 200 issues in a row, which is awesome. Yeah, and now I'm into 400s, which means next time I come back to this book will be issue 407. How far I go with it, you'll find out and see. But in the case of Superman, however, this one will cap off the 300s. 200s when I come back to the book. 200s, and then move on to 300s, which I haven't read very much 300s for Superman. I'm very much looking forward to reading these ones. The only 300s I have read that were like more than just like about 2 dozen issues were just Batman. I enjoyed the Batman ones. They were really good. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, to notifications. Next up, I'll cover the anime later. I'm going to go ahead and watch the last 4. I'm going to watch the last few episodes of Kira Major, but I'm going to do 2 at a time. But with the next one, I'm going to reveal what my next sentence is going to be. Okay? Next video. Bye.